And Baseball Hall of Famer from The Athletic, Jayson Stark. What's up, Jason?
Ricky, Connor, how are you guys?
Good. How you doing?
Great.
Good. How's spring training?
It's good. The sun is shining, man. You don't want to hear it, but it is.
That's fine. That's fine. All right, let's start. Let's start off with something that's going hot here. How about Cristopher Sanchez? What have you been hearing?
You know, I would say as I make the rounds and talk to other teams, which is really what I do all spring, the player I get asked about on the Phillies the most, more than any other, is Cristopher Sanchez. It's amazing to me. I think there are a lot of known quantities on this roster, but the buzz on this guy, Ricky, is unbelievable for somebody who, until last year, was almost an afterthought, right? If you watched any of the game today, you saw it again. He's so much stronger now. He doesn't just touch 97, 98 miles an hour. He sits at 96 to 97. We've never seen that. And we've never seen this swing and miss version of him. You know, he went into today with a strikeout rate this spring of 37%. That's almost twice what it was last year. Last year he was around 20%, and he's doubled that. Starting pitchers, as you know, do not have a 37% strikeout rate. Josh Hader might have a 30% strikeout rate as a closer. Starters don't do that, but he's now got this fastball that hitters have to gear up for. You combine it with I've said this before to you, maybe the best changeup in the game, all the ground balls he gets. I think Cristopher Sanchez has become a fun Cy Young long shot and a tremendous fantasy baseball pick.
Hey, that would be a great thing for an already great rotation, but with a great lineup we'll switch to, there are still questions at the top. What in the world is going on with the Phillies leadoff position? Kyle Schwarber took some time in that spot yesterday. Like, what are they going to do there, Jason?
You know, obviously they're still fiddling around with this. I think Trey Turner is going to wind up leading off more than not. I mean, they might do some switching up, left-hander versus right-hander, who knows what, but I'm sure you've heard this. Their thinking is they want a more productive Trey Turner. How do they get there? They want a Trey Turner who thinks more about getting on base and scoring runs, more along the lines of the rate that he'd always done that earlier in his career. I understand the thinking. That's obviously a goal. You've got to have a better, more productive, more consistent Trey Turner. Here's what I see. Trey Turner, before the hamstring thing last year, was hitting over 340. His on-base was over 390. His OPS was over 850s. He had 10 stolen bases, only been thrown out once. The team was playing 670 baseball, and he was hitting number 2. So tell me, when they look at the Trey Turner that they don't like, that they want to motivate, was it his place in the batting order, or was it his hamstring? I personally think it was the hamstring, and you still have that guy, and you can get that guy without moving him to number 1. A couple of other things. If he hits first and Bryce hits 2, is Trey going to be more comfortable running in front of Bryce than he was when he was hitting 2 and Bryce hit third? I don't know. Then the other question is, if Bryce hits second, is he going to come to the plate with more runners on base or fewer runners on base as opposed to hitting third? I think you know the answer. And then one final thing. You guys know I'm a fan of Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff hole. They're 58 games over 500 when he leads off, 219 and 161. Hit more leadoff homers in a season than anyone had ever hit in history, and then hit another one in the postseason. Here's the biggest thing, though. He reached base more times out of the leadoff hole last year than anyone else in the National League. So here's my question to you guys. By moving Schwarber potentially and putting Turner number 1 and putting Schwarber down at 2, 3, 4, 5, wherever he winds up, are they overthinking this? Because I think they are.
I'm with you. I'm a Schwarber leadoff guy, so I'm right there with you, Jason.
Yeah,
I know you are.
I just wonder if it's an overcorrection because they couldn't make changes to the roster with all the money they already have out there. So is this their way of trying to force change without being able to change the roster as much?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah, exactly right. And, I understand that Kyle Schwarber has a presence, if you hit him deeper in the order, that a lot of these guys wouldn't have. But I just think they will significantly miss his presence leading off the game with one of those bombs in the second deck.
Hey, Jace, I heard you got some pointed question asked by an exec on another team about red flags with Luzardo, Romano, and Kepler. What do you got on that?
Yeah, as I was saying, Ricky, one of my favorite things about spring training is roaming around, talking to people from other teams, and getting their perspective on a million things. But everybody knows I'm from Philadelphia, and they always want to talk to me, ask me stuff about the Phillies. So I talked to an executive from one team one day about the Phillies. And you should know that here's his perspective. He loves their team. He thinks they're going to win the division. But he did raise questions about those 3 guys, and they're good ones. So let's go through them. Jesus Luzardo. He loves Jesus Luzardo, and I think that's pretty much unanimous. But here's the question he asks. Why did the Marlins trade him this year, this winter? He was coming off a tough year. He wasn't healthy much of the year. Why wouldn't they have waited, let him have a big first half, and then try to get much bigger value for him at the deadline? The only reason that makes sense, at least to hit this guy, is the Marlins had to be worried about his health and whether he'd hold up. I know enough of the thinking in the Marlins organization to think there's definite truth to that. But all I can tell you is this guy's awfully dominant when he's healthy. So it'll be really interesting to watch this play out. Then Jordan Romano. First off, he's had a really good spring. Velocity is back. Slider has mostly been back to what it was. Command has been good. But the question this executive asked me was, why would Toronto non-tender a player like Jordan Romano? His thinking was, if they keep him, he probably only cost them something in the range of $7.5 million. He's a leader on their team. He's one of the most popular guys in their clubhouse. He's from Canada, Ricky. Okay, so then to replace him, they had to commit $33 million to Jeff Hoffman for 3 years, which is a lot more than they would have paid Jordan Romano. And it just makes you wonder what the Blue Jays knew. I would say if we asked the Blue Jays that, they would tell us it's more what they didn't know. He was coming off a rough year. They just weren't ready to commit to him so soon after the season ended. But, wow, what a valid question. And then Max Kepler would be the third guy that you asked about, right? And this executive thinks Kepler's a really talented player, better player than people seem to think he is. He's had a hell of a spring. But the question that he asked me was, think about it. Nobody knows him better than the Twins. It's not like they have superstars all over their outfield. He's a really good defender, good runner, has power. Why would the Twins not have even tried to keep him, right? And I think the answer is they were frustrated with how a succession of little health issues kept piling up and how often he was unavailable. But here's what I'm thinking. Doesn't that describe like half their team? So all of these are kind of wait to see who's right. But aren't they interesting questions? Something to think about?
No, they certainly are, and that's something we'll be pondering as we see how healthy these guys are going into the season or early on in the season. Now, real quick, we have about a minute left in the show, but can you give us just the Cliff Notes synopsis of the hierarchy of the NL East with 3 great teams in the division?
Yeah, I was on another show yesterday in another city, and they asked me to name my my 4 number 1 seeds because it's March Madness.
Oh, love that.
And I went with the Dodgers. I went with the Dodgers and 3 teams in the NL East: Phillies, Mets, Braves. Any of them could win. They all should make the playoffs. I think the Phillies, in a world where everybody is healthy, especially the rotation, have the best roster and the best team. In a world where everybody goes through a bunch of injuries, I think the Mets have the most depth. The Braves have the biggest fluctuation between what they could be, good or bad. It's going to be a fun summer, man, because these are 3 really good teams.
Jayson, we always appreciate you coming on. We appreciate your Hall of Fame mind coming on. And look for your stuff in The Athletic.
I appreciate it, Rick. Connor, talk to you guys soon.
All right, take it easy.
Jace.
Jayson Stark from The Athletic. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching our YouTube. If you want to help us out, go ahead and like and subscribe for us. If you liked what you saw, go right over here to our playlists and pick out whatever you want to watch.